Wild card weekend was over, and much like last year, you had one good game on Sunday night, and then the rest of the games were pretty much duds. There were some games that showed signs of competitiveness throughout parts of the game, but then they got flipped on their head immediately. Chargers Texans, a weird one where Chargers in a way felt like they were in control the whole time. Texans scored twice before the half. Complete domination ever since that point. 32-12 blowout, which, by the way, is the 1091st scoregami of the year. Um, but, I mean, it was a scoregami, a 7th scoregami of the year, I meant to say, because looking back at 32-19, in September 9th, that game between Knights and Jets was the first scoregami of the year, so this is the 7th, because, math. CJ Stroud did not play very well. He went 22 for 33, 282 yards, a touchdown and interception, so he played mediocre. Um, Justin Herbert, though, played horrible. 14 for 32, 242 yards for a touchdown. He threw 4 interceptions. Looking at the run game, Joe Mixon had 25 carries for 106 yards and a touchdown. J.K. Dobbins had 9 carries for 26 yards. Receivers, McConkey for the Chargers had 9 receptions for 197 yards and a touchdown. Nico Collins had 7 receptions for 122 yards and a touchdown. In terms of this team's stats, it was just domination from, the Texans. Once it flipped, they had 429 yards of offense to the Chargers 261, 6.1 yards were played to the Chargers 4.8, and 20 first downs to the Chargers 15. Much better on fourth down. They ran 70 plays to the Chargers 54. They allowed only 3 sacks to the Chargers 4. The Chargers punted 5 times, and the Texans punted 4 times. The Texans had 3 turnovers and the Chargers had 4, and they won the time of possession battle by nearly 10 minutes. Looking at Steelers Ravens, this is the opposite. This was just a complete ass whooping from the Baltimore Ravens, and the Steelers tried to claw their way back into it, and they couldn't. Again, team stats domination by the Ravens. 464 yards of offense to the 280 by the Steelers. Yards of play, they were pretty even, but the Ravens had 29 first downs, and the Steelers had 11. They ran 72 plays, the Steelers 45. The Steelers took 4 sacks, and the Ravens took 1. The Steelers punted 5 times, and the Ravens punted 4 times. The Ravens were penalized a lot less than the Steelers were, and they won a time of possession battle by nearly 20 minutes. Bills-Broncos. The Broncos took the early lead. It was not to last. The Bills took the lead early in the second quarter and then just exploded from there. Statistical domination. 471 yards of offense to the 224 by the Chargers. Again, just look at all these stats and how much better they are for the Bills. And they won a time of possession battle by over 20 minutes. Looking at Packers-Eagles, this was a close game. Jordan Love had one of the worst games of his career, 20 for 33 for 212 yards and 3 interceptions. Hurts didn't play the best either, though. 13 for 21 with 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. In terms of rushing, Barkley had 25 carries for 119 yards. Josh Jacobs had 18 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. Receiving yards, Devontae Smith had 4 receptions for 55 yards. Jane Reed had 4 receptions for 46 yards. This is a game where the Eagles took control early on, but the Packers kept finding ways to claw themselves back into the game before the Eagles finally slammed the door on them. Statistically, though, it was not domination. Packers actually had 12 more yards than the Eagles. Yards of play was even. They got more first downs than the Eagles. They ran 3 more plays. They both took 2 sacks. The Eagles punted 5 times to the 2 by the Packers. The main difference, Packers turned it over 4 times. The Eagles turned it over 0 times. The time of possession battle, the Eagles won by 66 seconds. It was a very close game statistically, but the Eagles were able to make huge plays and win it 22-10. The Commanders 23-20 on a last second you know, field goal. The difference here was the Buccaneers fumbled and the Commanders didn't. Statistically, though, it looks like the Commanders should have blown out the Buccaneers, especially looking at the time of possession battle. The fact that the Buccaneers punted twice and the Commanders never punted. Um, and the fact that they had 350 yards of the 284 by the Buccaneers. But this is a really close game. Vikings Rams, Sam Darnold went 25 of 40, 245 yards, a touchdown and an interception, and it was more negative stats about him. Stafford, 19 for 27 for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is a game where the Rams were just up 24-3 by halftime, and they won it 27-9. Statistically, though, in a lot of ways, doesn't look like, looks like the Vikings either had an advantage or at the very least it was close in a lot of categories. However, the Rams allowed 9 sacks, and the Vikings allowed 9 sacks. The Rams only allowed 2. The Vikings also turned the ball over twice, but by almost 5 minutes they won the time of possession battle. So that was one of those weird games where statistically doesn't give you the full picture. We're looking at these divisional round matchups now. Texans Chiefs, Commanders Lions, Rams Eagles, and Ravens Bills. Personally, I'm just going to go through it quickly. I think the Chiefs are going to beat the Texans, even though I don't want that to happen. Commanders will beat the Lions will beat the Commanders. Eagles will beat the Rams, and Bills will beat the Ravens. So I know I'm going lazy with it and picking all the home teams, but I just don't really see where there could be an upset. Commanders' miracle run was fun while it lasted. However, against the Lions, I really don't think that they can continue it. The Lions are probably the best team in the league. Texans have been on a downward spiral, and the only reason why they won against the Chargers is because Justin Herbert poops his pants on the big stage. Eagles, Rams, we know what happened because you saw it happen earlier on in the year in LA, and now they're coming to Philadelphia. Ravens, Bills, I'm the least confident on just because the Bills did blow out the Ravens in week 4. However, with it being played in Buffalo, I think that the Bills will be able to win, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Ravens won this game instead.